Time for tonight's rewrite. The once noble Newsweek and now the fastest sinking ship on the newsstand in a desperate attempt to boost newsstand sales of a $5 magazine that is 68 pages long, 17 and a half of which are advertising, has put this lie on its cover this week. Sarah Palin's lie, quote, "I can win," goes uncontested in Newsweek's lengthy, adoring profile. She is echoing Donald Trump's loony mantra, "I could win," which he became even more insistent about after he ended his fake presidential campaign. Newsweek allows Palin to say, quote, "I do believe that I can win," without discomfiting her in any way by referring to the polls that show she's the most unpopular politician in America. Nor does Newsweek think it is in any way helpful to your understanding of the Palin phenomenon today to know that she is the most unpopular politician in Alaska with only 39% approval rating. Palin has seen those polls. She is smart enough a politician to know that the polls indicate she could not even win the Republican nomination for presidency, never mind the presidency. So she knows she's lying when she says, "I can win." But the only Palin poll that the Newsweek article refers to is the 80% approval she had in Alaska before John McCain chose her as his running mate. In other words, before she actually became the national political performance artist now known as Sarah Palin. Newsweek does everything it can to make the madness of Sarah Palin seem reasonable. Consider this paragraph explaining why Palin did the unthinkable and quit her governorship halfway through her term. After the 2008 election, Palin tried to do something that hadn't been done in 20 years, return to the governor's chair after defeat on a national ticket. Michael Dukakis was the last to manage it in 1988. Former Democratic allies now treated her like the opposition, and disaffected Republicans were not inclined to come to the rescue. Political opponents bombarded her administration with ethics complaints, and though all were ultimately dismissed or settled without finding of wrongdoing, Palin lost her motivation to stay in the job and fight. "It was like she was going to work every day in handcuffs," Todd told me. Okay, number one. She was not going to work every day in handcuffs. Number two, Democrats in Alaska had no power to make governing impossible since it is a Republican state. And three, many more governors have much more difficult relationships with their legislatures and do not quit. And finally, let's consider the first line of this defensive paragraph about Palin quitting her governorship. After the 2008 election, Palin tried to do something that hadn't been done in 20 years. Return to the governor's chair after defeat on a national ticket. Michael Dukakis was the last to manage it in 1988. Now, when you say Michael Dukakis was the last to manage it, you are implying that others have tried and failed to manage it because it's so impossible in the last 20 years between Dukakis and Palin. In fact, no one else has tried to manage it between Dukakis and Palin. No other sitting governor has lost on a presidential ticket in that time period. So another way of writing that sentence is, the last sitting governor to lose on a presidential ticket had no problem managing the return to his governor's job. Such is the pathetic pro-Palin tilt that permeates this utterly absurdist piece. Palin obviously negotiated and successfully demanded Newsweek's cover in order to cooperate with the magazine. Newsweek says she is worthy of the cover because of, quote, her standing as a possible presidential candidate with presumed front-runner potential. But of course, as viewers of this program know, Sarah Palin is never going to run for president or any other elective office. She has discovered the joys of responsibility-free celebrity and the millions in income that are hers through deft management of that celebrity. Surely, some at Newsweek are smart enough to know this and may have decided to go with the Palin cover because, with Michelle Bachmann soaring in the polls, they are only days away from the utter irrelevance of Sarah Palin. As to why Newsweek decided to give Palin the softest treatment the lamestream media ever has, the answer actually lies at the end of the article, where Newsweek inadvertently confesses to the deal it obviously made with Palin for the cover, the flattering photography and the puff piece. The mainstream press is becoming less and less relevant, she said, adding that she would have no hesitation in shunning media outlets she does not trust. I would say no to those who have lied about me. There is no need to reward bad behavior. I've learned, once bitten, twice shy. I have learned. There's Newsweek telling you that she would have no hesitation in shunning media outlets she does not trust. That means Newsweek had to make promises to her to get her trust. I have specifically avoided mention of the author of the Newsweek piece because he has done good work in the past and he surely will again, and should not be known for this love letter to Sarah Palin. We've all done things for money. This week, it was his turn. Speaking of the money, it turns out that this week's Newsweek is, for once, worth every penny of the $5 it costs at the newsstand because of Carl Bernstein's masterful article, Murdoch's Watergate. We'll be back with more on that after the break.